Okay. I do want to start off with that one announcement, especially to the online class, that Unit 1 and Unit 2 tests will be toward the end of September. Okay? If you don't understand why, watch the first, second, and third day videos and you'll understand. Okay? So the first and second unit test will be toward the end of September. All right. Now, this says the number of monthly active Facebook users, F, in millions from 2019 to 2017 is given by this, blah, blah, blah. So we know it's a linear function because X is raised to the what power? We know it has a y-intercept of what? 200. So right there tells you, boom, I got a y-intercept. 233 tells us it's going to be automatically, almost, let's see, 233 might be, let's see, for 1, you're going to have 400. So it's almost going to be straight up, okay, because it's compressed. All right, so it's like that. So remember, if anything's above 3, anything's above 1, it's going to be compressed along the x-axis, and it's going to be what? Stretched along the y-axis, so it's going to be skinny. In this case, a line can't be skinnier. It's shallow. It's either like this, or it's going to be like that. So the higher the number in front of the x, the more steep your line is going to be. Capiche? Where x is the number of years after 2019. So put this in your notes, just a question. And I want you to highlight that right there. I'm going to highlight it here in just a second when I get my... The reason I want you to highlight it is because that is something that gets people on tests as well as homework. This right here. You've got to make a note that you've got to subtract 9 from your years. So 2009 would be 0. And then 2017 would be what? 8. Okay, so your bottom of the graph is going to look like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is something that is normal. 0, 0 is 2009. 2010, 2013, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and that is 8. Now, we got a line, it crosses at 0 and 200, and we know this is 100, this is 200, we know it's almost what? Straight up. Now, we haven't even plotted a point yet, and we know that. Is that a good thing for you to know? Yes. At this point in the class, if you can ascertain that graph, what I just drew, that's a good thing. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I don't know where you've been the last week. Okay? Evaluate f of 2. So f of 2, this right here is the same thing as saying x is equal to what? If x is equal to 2, that is a horizontal line going which way? If x is equal to a number, it's parallel to the what axis? The y-axis. You plot the 1, 2, and it's a what? It's a vertical line. So they're wanting that point right there. Now, you can do this 2 different ways. What can you do? Somebody tell me what you can do to find f of 2.
Plug it in.
Plug and chug. That's one way. What's another way? You could quit and go to the next problem. What could you do? Well, some of y'all are on the calculator drill team. What could you do?
Graph it.
Graph it. Graph it and use the table to find x is equal to 2. So go ahead and do both. Get your calculators out. I want you to graph it. And you're going to have to set your window to like 150 on the y to 400 because where is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is at 200. If you don't have your graphing calculator, that's a good thing. Okay? So that means you don't use it as a security blanket. Here you have it. That's good also. So go ahead and graph it. And then plug in f of 2. Use the formula to write an equation that gives the number of months active Facebook users y in millions. I don't understand what B is asking.
I don't either.
Use the formula for f of x. That's what we're using to write an equation. I don't understand. We do have the equation. I don't know, I must be reading something wrong. Refer to part B and find x at 2011. Where's 2011? That's what we just did. Okay, am I missing something here? Okay, use your equation in part B to determine the year when Facebook reached 1 billion. So, what is this? To determine the year, what is year? Go back to your formula. Where up here is the year? Okay, let's read it. The number of months active users, F, active, so F is what? Facebook users, right? So that's the number of Facebook users or whatever is equal to millions of years, or years, not millions of years, but years, and the Facebook users in millions in years. So here, when Facebook reached what? So what would you set this to?
1 billion.
1 billion, or 1 million, let's say, since it's in millions, you would do 1,000, right? Something like that. So you would set y is equal to what? 1,000, or take your handy dandy green marker or magenta, and at 1,000, put a vertical line and find where that what? Intersects. So all of this could be done by hand, or it can be done by what? Calculator. This is a type question. I don't really care how you do it, okay? It is a good question either way. So, we're going to pull up the handy dandy calculator, and I'm just going to show you how to do it with the calculator, and then we'll do it by hand. So, do it with your calculator, and then we'll do it by hand. So, I'm going to go to my handy dandy calculator and pull up y is equal to, what is it? Somebody give it to me again. What is it? 233x plus 200. And of course, you're probably not going to see it unless it, yeah, you're not going to see it. So I'm going to set my window. Since I know that the y-intercept is 200, I'm going to set my y window at 150 or 175, and I'm going to try to go, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, to 1500. I don't know if that'll work or not. There we go. We feel good about ourselves. Now, you can go to the table. Where's table? Second. And that first question, what is f of 2? Oh my gosh, mark of the beast. Revelation. Judgment Day. 666. We did this, didn't we? I thought we did. Okay, now, I think we didn't do the second part. I think we were lacking the second part. Okay, so 2 is equal to 666. Now let's find the other. So I'm going to go to my y is equal, and I'm going to put y is equal to 1,000. Enter, or graph. And there is my intersection right there at 1 billion users. So now how do I find that intersection point? Well, you can go back to the table, or you can hit second, trace, and intersect. and then click, first curve is the line, second curve is the straight line, and then put your guess. Why do you have to guess? Anybody know? It narrows down the mathematical calculations that the calculator has to do. That's why. If you don't give it a guess, you can hit enter. It'll just take longer. So hit enter, and look at there. Somebody write down 3.43, which means 3.5 years. So what's 3.5 years or 3.4 years? I guess they're going to round down or round up. I don't know. Let's make it 3 years. If it's 3 years, what's 3 added to 2009? 2012. If 4 would be 2013. So depending on what the directions want you to do, round up or round down, it's going to be 2012 to 2013. With me? So, should everybody know how to do that on your calculator? Yes. So, that's good. Now let's go back to the whiteboard. I'll go back to the slide. And I don't know what all the other stuff's asking because to me it's kind of redundant. So I'm just going to move on and let's see what they want because I don't understand. And they get 666. There's B. I don't know what the difference in the formula and the equation is. So okay, they're plugging in x minus 2009 in. That's what you do in your head. And that's what they're doing. I have no idea why they're doing that. Use the formula to write an equation that gives the number of monthly. Okay, what they're saying, this is what they're saying. They're saying B, you can rewrite B and say, use the formula so you don't have to subtract the years. Or use the equation to derive a formula so you do not have to subtract the years in your head. That's what they're doing. So instead of you thinking 2013 minus 2009 is 4, you stick x minus 2009 in for x. Is that very beneficial to you passing this class? No. So I'm not really too worried about that. Okay? And of course they want you to check it. Now, could you easily do 2011 minus 2009 is what? 2, and plug 2 into the formula? Yes. Okay, they're doing some kind of reverse engineering of your thinking here is what they're doing. Okay, and our answer is 1,000. They said, now here they're doing it algebraically. They're saying, okay, we're going to plug in 1,000 for y, because 1,000 times what? A million is what? A billion. That's, remember the equation said a million, or in millions. So solve the equation, and you should get, what do we get? 3 point. Okay, now why did they not get 3? Because they're using this formula where you took the years out of your head. They're using the formula algebraically. Did they get 3.4? Yes. So that's it. Question on that one. I really care about the first problem and the last problem. I want you to be able to use your calculator to find x equals and to find y is equal. Everybody with me? I want you to be able to do that. Capiche? Easley and Oconee? I'm sorry. Pendleton and Oconee? Y'all good?
No.
Okay, y'all settle down. Y'all getting too loud. I can't pull up the other one. Where's the other one? I hate when it hides it. I have to go and find it. It's a conspiracy. See, it hit it. So I got to go up here and find the other one. Damn Russians. Damn Russians sabotaged the South Carolina ball game. It wasn't bad coaching and bad coaching decisions. It wasn't that. No. Good God, I've never seen that. That's the worst coached game I think I've ever seen. South Carolina should be meeting right now and saying, we need to get rid of this whole coaching staff. I've never seen such bad coaching. But the Oregon-Auburn game, I'm happy about two things. I'm happy that Auburn won, and I'm happy that LSU and Penn State moved into the top 5 and they kicked Ohio State out. I could not believe they kicked Ohio State out. Ohio State is like the darling of college football. They could lose 10 games and still be in the top 10. And they don't really play anybody, so. Okay, nobody's going to talk about football. So no movies, no football, so I guess we'll just talk about math.
I don't watch football.
You don't watch football?
You don't watch
Okay, you are alien. That's the only thing I watch is college football. You got a Georgia hat on! Yeah. I was very happy with Georgia, though, even though they did play Tri-County Tech. I'm sorry, Spartanburg High School. I think they should outlaw cupcake games.
Yeah, they should.
Cupcake games is when a major college team plays like a high school. Or plays like a Division I team like the Citadel. And it's really bad when the other team wins. That happened to Michigan with App State. Remember that? App State won, and Michigan had a bad year that year. But anyway, I don't like
it's like Tennessee
games.
and Georgia Southern.
What?
It's like Tennessee and Georgia Southern.
Oh my gosh, Tennessee. That's another example of how you purchase a bad coach. I mean, Tennessee is like a powerhouse, and it's just sad. I hate to see that. But anyway, I tell you what, we're gonna see a game Saturday though. I think you're gonna see, Jimbo. He's a good coach. I think Jimbo was the whole thing behind Florida State. So I think you're gonna see something Saturday. I don't know about the other games, but I haven't seen. Georgia, I think, plays YMCA Little League. I think they play another cupcake. Anybody? Well, who does LSU play? Does LSU play Texas, or they already
I
play?
can look it up.
Let's just see who LSU plays, because I think LSU is going to be the team to watch this year. Okay, nobody's going to talk, so I guess we just.
Hold on, I'm looking it up.
That's all right. We'll go ahead and get started.
Well, Jimbo is also the reason that Florida State's in shambles.
Yeah, because he left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think, and last year he really worked with A&M, and I think he's going. I think in another year, I think he's going. If he don't have it this year, I think he's going to actually have something. Okay, now we've talked about the vertical shift, and I'm not going to do this again because we've talked about it. All right. So whenever you have a function, the vertical shift is going to be c, which is your y-intercept also. But it depends on what kind of form you have it in to tell if it's a vertical or horizontal shift. Vertical shift is positive, negative shift is down. Here's the absolute value. Now, what did I tell you about the vertical shift? It is not connected to the what? To the function. So where is the function? The ice machine is the absolute value of x. That's the ice machine. That is the 90% of the whole thing. Okay? That is the function. Over there, x at minus 2, the parent graph is going to be in the middle at the origin. That's the parent graph, and you're going to shift down. What about x plus 1? X plus 1 is going to shift up. So anytime you see the x outside the function, now what if you had x minus 2 inside the function? That would be a horizontal shift of 2 to the right. But the 2 has to be where? Inside the function. So what's the function with the square? Parentheses. What's the function with a cube? Parentheses. What's the function with the square root? The radical. What's the function with 1 over x? Whatever is in the denominator. So you'll see these as we go through this first test. The first test is going to give you all of these forms, and you're going to do horizontal, vertical shift, horizontal, vertical shift, horizontal, vertical shift. And then in Unit 2, we're going to take the quadratics and use completing the square, and we're going to hammer completing the square until you can do it in your dreams. Okay? Because some of y'all don't even know how to do it. Okay, so that's 1 unit up. Horizontal is see, there's your parentheses right there. So the horizontal shift is contained in the bracket, in the brace, in the parenthesis, in the absolute value mark, in the radicand, whatever the case may be. Capiche? So this would be a -4, and this would be a positive what? 2. Remember, write this down. And we're going to write this down in red. I think I'm going to try to see. I can't do it. I was going to try to do a text, but I can't do a text. So I'll have to write it. The horizontal shift, and no matter how many times I write this, I could write this 100 times. Somebody would miss it on the test. Horizontal shift is always the opposite sign. So this is going to be the absolute value of x minus 4. And remember, what about the vertical shift? Well, there is no vertical shift, so that's going to be plus 0. Absolute value of x plus 2, and no vertical shift, so that would be 0. You don't have to write the 0. I'm writing the 0 so you can see where the vertical shift fits in with the horizontal shift. And again, this should be a lot of review. And there's the x minus 4, and then of course x plus 2 is going to be next. This is what people miss on the test. They miss the horizontal shift. I don't know why. I've only said it like 5 times. It might be because something to do with listening. Yeah, it might be. Okay, so here's your test questions right here. Okay, here's some of your test questions. Absolute value, you got to shift to the left of 2 spaces and down 6 spaces. You got to shift right 2 spaces and up 8 places. So which quadrant is A in? 3rd. Good job. You're a winner. And what quadrant is B in? The 1st quadrant. And there's the 3rd quadrant. And there is the 1st quadrant. Now I'm going to back up and let you write that down. You don't have to write down all that stuff. You just have to highlight the positive 2, and that's 2 spaces to the left. And then the -6, highlight that, and that's 6 spaces down. Now the only thing missing is something in front of the marks, which means orientation. Is it squished? Is it stretched? Is it opening downward? Is it opening upward? In this case, it's +1, so it's your parent graph only with a vertical and horizontal shift. Aprende?
Excuse me?
What?
Is the orientation the slope?
Well, in a linear, yes, that would be the slope. But in these, you would have a number in front of that mark right there, like a -2 or a +1/2 or something like that. And we're going to get to that probably in these slides. I don't know if they're going to, maybe in 2.3. There's the first. So you need to highlight the -2, and it's 2 to the right, and then +8 is 8 up. So if you suck at this, you need to write that down. You need to write these 2 problems down. Oh, that stuff's tough. Gotta lay off. Got a meeting Tuesday night, Thursday night at 8, yeah. I'm just waiting to see if somebody calls my boss. All right, so first of all, there is a horizontal shift of 1 to the right and 2 up. Notice the -1 is attached to the x. The -1 is inside the what? Parentheses. It's inside the function. The 2 is on the outside. So this is your horizontal shift, and this is your vertical shift. Horizontal shift of 1 to the right and 2 up. So the domain, well, let's see. What is the function raised to? Second power. What did I tell you about the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th power? All what? All real numbers. The only time the domain is affected is either the instructor or the directions, or a radical, or a what? A fraction. What about the second one? What's it raised to? So what's the domain of the second function?
All real numbers.
All real numbers. You'd be surprised at how many people miss the domain on these questions. It's all real numbers. Now, look at that one. Why is the domain affected? Because it's a radical. So you got to figure out what will give you a blown up function. Well, x minus 2 is equal to 0. Set the radicand equal to 0. So that's going to be x minus 2 is equal to 0. Let's do that. But with a radical, you have to think. Because you've got to think what's going to give you, and this is an even index of 2. So x minus 2 is equal to 0. X is equal to 2. So if I plug in 2, what am I going to get? And square root of 0 is 0. What if I plug in 3? What if I plug in 4? What if I plug in 5?
3.
So if I plug in numbers greater than or equal to 2, I'm okay. So what can I not use? I cannot use numbers less than what? So negative infinity, or the domain, I'm sorry, is from -2 to what? Positive infinity, and that's what this says. Okay? Do I have a bracket? Yes, because this is solid. And parentheses go there. So there's your domain. All 3 of these domains are there. Now, what about range? What's the range on the parabola?
-3 to...
-2 to what? Infinity. I'm sorry, not -2. 2 to infinity. 2 to infinity is your range. What's the range here? It's easy. All real numbers, and you might want to put a little y there so that whoever's grading your paper and put a little x here. Because if you're going to use that nomenclature or that, then you need to say, okay, in terms of y, all real numbers. Which, technically, that's what that says, but some teachers can be, you know. And what's the range on this one? -3 to what? -3 to what? Infinity. There's your range for all 3 of those. Are these all 3 test questions? Yes. I want you to be able to look at a function graphed or a function in the equation. And I want you to be able to tell me all you can about that function without doing anything mathematically. Right now. Now, Unit 3 is when we do things mathematically. Yes.
What about on the homework we had like 1 year across the
What now?
like on the homework?
Okay, a piecewise function. We'll probably see that in just a minute. We'll get to that. Yes, sir.
Shouldn't C, the domain, be 2 to infinity instead
What did I
of
say?
2?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, whatever. What's your name?
Jack.
What's your last name? Okay, you're going to fail. Thank you. All right, so next. All right, so here's another function. Oh, this is the same one. So, okay, there's all real numbers. Okay, yeah, good. Okay, this is the same question we did before, isn't it? Okay, well, we're not going to do that again. I don't know why they're applying a shift. We already talked about 200 was the what? Vertical shift or the intercept. I'm not going to do all that again, okay? I don't know why they're doing that. Okay, so that's 2.2. We're going to get to the piecewise functions in just a minute. And we're moving along. We got to move along. I know some of y'all are going to go into convulsions. Let's go ahead and do the, because we don't want y'all to get a bad email. Oh. Remember, and I'm telling the online class this, if you get an email saying that you were absent, that means that Hubert didn't turn in the dadgum attendance on time. So, it's not a big deal. Okay, or let's see, who's missing in Pendleton?
Patrick.
Yeah.
Patrick again? Didn't he miss last time? Oh my gosh, he's gonna get 2 emails. They gonna crucify him. Next. That's the same one, sorry. 110:10. There we go. And this is Oconee campus. Y'all were there. And last is, I think all of y'all are here, aren't you?
All 9 of us.
9? Y'all are winners. Okay, so that's done. So let's pull up the section of, I think this is piecewise functions, but I'm not sure. If it is, I'm gonna skip it because I don't like them. They're kind of yucky. No, this ain't. This is yes. This is compression. Okay. This is stretching, shrinking. This is orientation. So let's look at this one. And that way, remind me what time class ends. Class ends at what time? 10. I want to make sure y'all not lying to me. I don't trust some of y'all. Some of y'all would say 9:30.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock? Okay, we got 7 minutes. And we've already...
Which day do we just get up and go home today?
What?
You're saying we only got 7 minutes, so we could just get up and go home?
Yeah, we could, yeah. My boss is telling me to turn in attendance for the 110 online class. I've already turned it in. You know, when they make, and that's what's wrong with K through 12, when bureaucracy takes over the classroom, that's when it's time to quit. It ain't that time here yet, but that's why I never went in K through 12, because those teachers can't teach for having to jump through all the hoops they have to jump through. All right, so this is a function, and look what's happening. The red function is, the black function is a regular function. Now let's go ahead and talk about what stretching. You can stretch. What does this mean? 6 of one, half dozen the other. What does that mean? Y'all's parents really suck. Okay.
Yeah, they do.
They do not teach y'all anything. Y'all have never heard 6 of one, half dozen the other. That's what's wrong with our society. 6 of one. How many eggs are in a half a dozen?
6.
Okay, so if I count 6 and say 6 or a half dozen, what's the difference? There's no difference. So does it matter whether you say 6 eggs or a half dozen eggs? That's the whole point of the idiom. I think it's an idiom, right? I don't know what they are. I'm not a grammar person. If I say stretch along the x-axis, that's the same thing as me saying compression along the y-axis. You see? I don't care which one you say. Think of it like a balloon. If you take a balloon and you push on the top axis or the top pole, north pole, and south pole of a balloon, what will happen? It's going to compress along this axis, but what's it going to do along the x-axis? It's going to stretch. Now, whether you want to call it compression or stretching, I could care less. Some people would say, well, all I have to do is grab the balloon from the left and the right and pull it. It's the same thing. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I don't want you to get caught up whether it's compressed or stretched. Use the balloon in your head. Now, if I push the black line from the left and the right, what will happen? You'll get the blue line. Now, you can do this 2 different ways. You can remember the balloon and push along the x-axis, and that's making the blue line. Or you can pull the black line from the y-axis in the bottom and pull it like this, and it will create the blue line. Does it matter which one you pick? No. You're good. And what I'm trying to get right here is the 2 things that are happening to this black line. One, you're compressing along the x-axis, and you're stretching along the what? Y-axis. So you need to write that down. Draw this little graph. Forget the words. Draw that little graph in your, and you might want to, and this is where highlighters or colored pencils or colored pens, you might want to get some before the next class, because we're going to start going into all of this together, and I'm going to start drawing on one graph, especially when we get to Unit 3 or Unit 2, Chapter 3. So, what I want you to write down is draw a big graph of this, and you are compressing along the x-axis. If you compress along the x-axis, what does that result in on the y-axis? Stretching on the y-axis. Now, is this going to go with you all the way until you graduate? Yes. If you're taking a science-based or math-based degree, you're going to see this all the way up to DFEQ. Especially with sine, cosine, tangent, you're going to see it. And of course, the sine and cosine will also be in your Physics 3, which is light and sound. So you'll see, you're not going to get away from some things in mathematics, and the amplitude or the vertical stretching and the compression, you're not. Now, can I compress along the y-axis? Yes. And let's draw that. Now, I don't know if they're going to show it on the next problem, but let's draw another rendition. If I compress along the y-axis, what will that result in on the x-axis? And that's what you have now. Does it matter which one you use? No, I don't care. Okay? You just need to think of the balloon. Or if you want to think of a rubber band, think of a rubber band, but the balloon does a better job because the balloon keeps its shape along with the axis. If you compress along the y-axis, that's going to stretch along the x-axis. If you compress along the x-axis, that's going to stretch along the y-axis. The visual balloon will help you so much on this. Of course, if you created vertical and horizontal stretching, you don't need it. Some of y'all came up with the concept back in Euclidean times. Okay, what time is it? I got to make sure before y'all start. 9:01, 9:02. That's okay. But see, this is why you're going to need your colored pencils. Okay? This is why. Even the slides do it. You're going to be using different colors. All right? Here, what happens, and I go into this a little bit differently. Remember when I said if A is between 0 and 1, it's going to be wide? Well, what happens when you have a big number above 1? What happens? It's going to get skinnier and skinnier and more narrow and more narrow. Okay, so now you're going to have compression. So 2 or a 3 or a 4 would be compression along the x-axis. What would a 1/2 or a 1/4 be? Stretching along or compressing along the y-axis. Depends on which one you like. You use whichever one you like. Whatever you like, stick what? Stick with it. Okay, we're going to stop right here. we're gonna stop with the, I wanna stop because I wanna go into, I'm gonna show y'all what happens here. Bring colored pencils, colored highlighters, colored pens, bring something, crayons, I don't care. Bring something colored to the next class, because I want to, now y'all don't have to go in overboard. Don't be coming to class with like the big box of, okay? You need medication, okay? Bring 2 or 3 highlighters, just bring some colored pencils and pens or highlighters. No, don't be stealing no 100 crayons from your little sister or little brother, okay? All right, y'all have a good day, and I will see y'all when? Friday for our illustrious Friday class of 50 minutes.
Yeah, you gotta have some breakfast for us, Frank.